Disclaimer, when editing this video, Skuff and I made separate files on Audacity. My file crashed, so that's why I sound inferior to Skuff, and that's why there's so many mistakes on my end. I apologize for this. I'll try not to let this happen again. I hope you enjoyed the video.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain.
I can't hear you.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Oh!
There, this video contains a SpongeBob theme song. Now this video will get views. Hello random person, Sab Nino here. Welcome to the first episode of Sponge Takes, a new series that Skuff and I are starting, where we watch the newest episode of SpongeBob right after we watched it, and we just share our thoughts.
Yeah, we've sort of had this idea for a while. I know I've always had it in the back of my head, so it just seemed like work, but you know, I think if we make them quick and we have this sort of setup where we use our PNG tubers, like, it could be a nice fun thing to do since we're already watching the new episodes together. We're just animation super fans, animators. SpongeBob is like what made us go to art college and get degrees in animation, so
Enough about us. You've seen us all over the channel. Let's talk about the episodes. The first episode is 288, Abandon Twits. The Krusty Crew builds a boat for their penny-pinching captain. Gee, I wonder who that could be. Maybe it's Bubble Buddy. He's a pretty big cheapskate. The story is pretty simple. It's just Mr. Krabs tricking SpongeBob and Squidward to, like, building him a ship. After the ship is built, the ship is apparently a Krusty Krab restaurant. The Krusty Krab has been seaborn before in SpongeBob vs. the Big One, but this is a unique take on it, and I think it's a cool concept. I like how it doesn't take too long, and it's mostly about the boat assembly.
yeah, I like how them selling Krabby Patties on the boat wasn't like the whole point of the episode.
Very simple story that they get a lot of mileage out of, just like the earlier seasons, except I know sometimes there's stories that don't have much story, like Welcome to Binary Bottom. At least you get like a lot of like mileage out of these simple premises, and I don't mind it.
Yeah, I really like the concept, and you know, just the trio of SpongeBob, Squidward, and Mr. Krabs. I really like the three of them being together. I thought it was gonna be a more SpongeBob, Squidward-centric episode, but it was nice to have Mr. Krabs there too. It was sort of a laid-back episode. Half the episode was about building the boat. It's just fun to see just the characters interact. It's probably one of my favorite episodes where like the Krusty Krab is like on the go.
It's one that centers around the Krusty Krab, but it's not really about the Krusty Krab. To me, it's just about building a boat.
They did enough to make it different to where I wasn't like, oh man, we're just selling Krabby Patties again.
It's a really nice change of pace, especially since we have so many episodes about the Krusty Krab. There was even one in the title zone, so whatever they could like spice up the locations of the Krusty Krab, it's always a welcome change. Like Company Picnic. Since it's newer SpongeBob, how can I not say the animation's good? A nice balance of like on-model, off-model. I also like the extra touches of Goo Lagoon, how they're a little bit extra to the backgrounds.
I completely agree with you. I never got the feeling of it was like getting too much, really. Everything's real bouncy and smooth. There's like specific moments I remember like SpongeBob rotating, and they kind of go with the extra mile of giving him dimension.
There's like a scene where like SpongeBob had little floaty things on his arms and he was just kind of waddling around. It kind of looked like they just didn't want to animate SpongeBob's body all the way around with, hey, I can relate to a lot. So they just kind of have his body just like tween around while his feet are just kind of walking. It's not that big of a hindrance. I'm not going to say the animation's bad just because of that. They're just using shortcuts, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it works because he's purposely supposed to look all stiff, like he can't move, so.
Oh, that's a nice catch. I didn't even think about that. There's really fun visual gags like Squidward's little dance at the beginning.
Probably my favorite part is when Mr. Krabs shoved like the frame of the boat into SpongeBob, and he's like, ooh, ah, and it's just in one smooth moment. Yeah, I guess the
gag was just Bubble Bass like ruining the boat with his ass.
that was the climax of the episode, what sunk them down, and like it's kind of so funny for Bubble Bass to just be this really like strong force. It was a really good butt joke, gotta say. We're kind of already going into the comedy and the gags. It was mostly visual gags.
You know, there were a few jokes that were more dialogue focused. Squidward had like a joke where it's like, wow, I'm going to a pre-modern unconstructionalist dance performance. Then he kind of like does like a little dance, and That's interesting.
It's a written one mixed with the visual gag, so it's kind of like the perfect joke.
I like how they kind of bring that joke back. They bring back the backgrounds to kind of make it look like that he is dancing while getting hit with a bunch of stuff.
I'm not sure how to feel about like the actual culture shock reference, because I was like, oh cool, they're doing culture shock without actually doing it, but then I'm like, oh, they actually did it. Just because they've been doing that specific reference quite a bit. I guess if I had one weird nitpick, there's a scene at the end where SpongeBob's giving out Krabby Patties. It doesn't like make it clear if they're like paying for those. It would have been nice if they had extra scenes of him like grabbing money from them too. Did you have any final thoughts on the episode?
The only final thought I had is that it's really fun. It's a fun one. I definitely would recommend it. Okay, next up we have 280B, Wallhalla. SpongeBob discovers a crazed castaway living in his walls. First off, I'm noticing a few parallels to Sponge on the Run in this episode. The episode starts with SpongeBob looking for Gary. Then there's Patrick eating shit.
At first I was slightly worried just because like a lot of times they'll like have a new character and they'll like look really weird, and this was like another one of those times and I wasn't sure how it was gonna go. They made like inside the walls like a really fun setting. I like the tension they built up with this really creepy guy. Like we slowly learn that he's creepier and creepier and stealing SpongeBob's food, and even that he like actually hates him because of his laugh. For when he realizes it's his laugh that drives him crazy, at like the snap at him, and with that really cool paint splatter background, very Ren and Stimpy-esque. It's nice how Patrick comes into the mix. It is nice that he does eventually escape. Like they could have had an ending where he just stays there or something. I do wish SpongeBob did have more of a backbone, because this guy was very mean and said mean stuff and stole from him, so I do wish SpongeBob put his foot down a little bit, but he still got him out of there, and he was being nice and helped him out, so it's within his character and everything.
I think it would have been a nice middle ground to have SpongeBob just mildly creeped out. This is his pineapple. It's a new side of it. It's not one that he's familiar with. He's like being leaded by like this weird old man. Give him a little bit of the heebie-jeebies. SpongeBob's a scaredy cat.
He was getting a little worried and creeped out at some points, but yeah, something a little more. I guess we can move on to the animation now, and the gags too. They kind of go hand in hand, really.
The animation, just like Abandon Twits, is also really good. A lot of background jokes, I've noticed. Like, a lot of jokes involving the environment. Like, when SpongeBob's looking for Gary, he points out that Gary has math homework for some reason. SpongeBob dives into a toilet at one point, and that teleports to Squidward's house.
I like Squidward screaming like a lady.
I also like SpongeBob opening the door of SpongeBob's parents' house to go through the other side of the wall. And the walls look really good, too. It really does look like that foam that is often like on the other side of the wall.
I love the joke where he's running from the guy and then the walls are closing in. That was really great. And just like the world they made within the walls was really fun.
I also respect how it shows a lot of gross stuff, but it doesn't look super gross. Like, we have like a moldy Krabby Patty, literal urchin droppings. You know, it's really well stylistically done, which is good because both of us had SpongeBob popsicles while watching this.
I didn't really like that joke though, where he blew his nose out with his eye toothbrush. I mean, it's cool to see that toothbrush again from the movie, but like, that was not too funny, sort of just gross. Oh, and when he's in a TV, that's a really cool gag too.
One gag that I found very interesting, not really funny, just kind of an interesting tidbit. SpongeBob might be lactose intolerant. That might be what they're implying in this episode, because it says that he has tender tummy kelp juice. Might be like an equivalent to like almond milk. If they decide to stick with SpongeBob being lactose intolerant, now I just kind of feel bad for every time SpongeBob eats ice cream, and he does that a lot. A lot of the jokes was Patrick. I didn't really find that funny. It kind of felt a little bit like season 7 territory, but it wasn't that bad. SpongeBob does like point out a little bit. I kind of like that little gag of just SpongeBob going, "Why are Grandma's cookies in the toilet?" I think it was mildly funny when Patrick said to the old guy just, "Who's the crybaby?"
Yeah, I like that one. That one made me laugh. Interesting how they coined a technique for things inside of SpongeBob's wall, because they did this in like the Sea Bunny episode too, so it's funny that like they use that same effect. But yeah, this has been a great start to reviewing all the episodes. We'll review next week's episode too, so yeah.
What do you guys think of Abandon Twits and Wallhalla? Do you like it? Do you hate it?
Yeah, let us know.
Below. Let's start a discussion and all that jazz. And let us know what other discussions you want to see me or Skuff and I like tackle next. And I don't know, we might do it next time on Sponge Takes. And with all that said, it's all set from here.
Thanks, guys.